Welcome to Valley Viewpoint. I'm Roger Johnson. My guests are Nelle and Jim Cornelison. Each of them have been very involved in their lives. Jim has just joined the 50-state marathon club, and Nelle has bound to be involved in various remarkable ways in their 50 years of marriage. Welcome to both of you on Valley Viewpoint.
Thank you.
I was paging through Sunday's paper, and I couldn't help but notice that my guests that I had previously scheduled were featured with that announcement, that celebration announcement, Nelle and Jim, about your 50 years of marriage. And it was in Hawaii that you were at on December 25, and I was curious, how did that work out? Why December 25? I mean, it's a great date, but for a marriage, interesting.
Well, Jim was in basic training. He was in the Army, and we wanted to get married between his basic training and his advanced training, and we didn't know what day he would be home. But we knew he was coming home for Christmas, so we chose Christmas Day.
Assuring that at least that priority date that is recognized the world around, that
That's
most
right.
likely that would be a safe date. Is that kind of how I hear it,
That's
Jim?
correct, yes.
And we needed to get the wedding announcements, invitations printed, so we had to have a date.
And I hear that it was rather cool.
Yeah,
Was it rather cool Idaho
yes,
experience?
It was a lot of snow, and a couple of nights after we left for San Antonio, it was 48 below in Moscow, Idaho, the coldest on record.
Memorable wedding date in Idaho. But you were heading toward Texas where you were stationed, is that right?
Yes, yes. Best year to be out of Idaho, San Antonio.
If you were going to, looking back on these 50 years, share with our audience what has been the glue that has kept you through these many years, how would you summarize that? Or you wouldn't even have to summarize. Any stories to let us know what it takes to be together that long?
Do you have ideas?
Go ahead, you first.
Well, I think it's just letting each person be their own person. I don't have to be a runner. He can be a runner and enjoy that. And he doesn't have to be a fisherman. That's what I enjoy doing that's different than what he enjoys.
And I noticed that in this article that came out at the UB, celebrating your marriage, that you have quite a diversity of interests. Cars, at 13 years old, Jim, I understand that you had your first car.
That's
What
correct.
was it?
51 Studebaker with an overhead valve V8. First year they had a V8. It's a pretty good car.
It was good enough to grab you for a lifetime, it said.
Oh, yeah.
And from Studebakers, how did the flow go for cars for you in your
Well,
life?
Parents had a 56 Chevy. I had that for a while. A couple of red Corvairs. And it was a 69 Chevy Nova that I got before I went in the Army. A couple of Volkswagens during that time before, and developed on and on. I still love classic cars and all kinds of cars. Yeah.
That's quite a storage story as well, keeping cars, and it's hard to part with them. Is that what you need to have a few on hand all the time?
Yeah, right. I like to keep them up. I don't like to let them go to seed, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, some of those cars that you named, like the 69, did I hear Chevy?
Chevy Nova, yeah.
Yes.
It was a beautiful car.
Yes,
Yeah.
I recall.
Wished I still had that one.
I think I was 19 years old at that time and noticed those for sure. And what are your favorite cars as you look back over your hobbies of cars? What was, you mentioned the 69 was a beautiful car.
Okay, I think still my favorite classic car is a 56 Chevy, like a two-door hardtop Bel Air, maybe red, but to drive better than new. So those kind of expensive. been to a lot of Barrett Jackson car auctions, classic cars in Scottsdale. Enjoy doing that. So, yeah.
And Nelle, you grew up apparently around the ocean. I'm assuming, if you like to
Yeah.
fish, or how did that story?
I grew up in Potlatch, Idaho, and one of the Smiths you've met them from
The renowned Smith family.
right, from
Yes.
Aleknagik, Alaska, was our pastor, Merle Smith.
Oh.
And he would tell stories about fishing in Alaska and Dillingham and Aleknagik. And so my dad and his friend, Dwayne Burns, decided they would get a fishing boat, each of them, and go fishing. So they had never been fishing, and they ordered boats, and they went up in, I think it was 1965, and started fishing. So then we, the children, my brothers and myself and my sister, each took turns going up with them. But I got my permit. Do you remember what year that was? I think it was at
1982.
No, that was, yeah, something like that. Anyway, I've been going up and fishing for about 40 years now, and our kids are fishing with us now, and the grandkids are fishing. Everyone but Jim.
Well, with the schedule that we'll talk about a bit more with his running interest, but have you contemplated why the fishing grabbed Nelle in such a significant way? Is it?
I think it was because we could do it as a family. It's outdoors. We like doing
yes.
things away from all the crazy city stuff. I don't know, pioneer spirit, all that sort of thing. But it's been a real good family thing to do. And a way for the kids and grandkids to earn money for tuition, because private schools are not cheap. And so our kids earned their way through college, and it was good. Good for them and good for us.
Well, I have had the privilege as a pastor to be close to the Smith family. Louise James was part of that family, and then her sister as well. So, and read the book, and
Yes.
so that has been a special part of my life too, to be connected with that family. So when you
Great
mention your
families.
heritage, yes. And what are your favorite fish? And do you believe that longer life is added to one's life by eating fish?
Oh, of course. But we fish primarily for sockeye salmon. So that's what we fish for. It's running at that time of year. And of course we fish commercially, so that's what we catch and what we sell. And it's kind of like farming. You never know if there's going to be a good crop or if there's going to be a good price. You just go and do it for the fun and the adventure and hopefully the money.
Yeah. Yes, if you're going to be paying large school bills,
Right.
hopefully you're going to be making some overhead.
Yes.
The overhead won't overcome the income, so to speak.
Right.
Well, I have just been sensitized by looking at the Blue Zones National Geographic, which indicated that the Adventist Health Study has indicated that eating fish does actually be the best way of actually living longer. The fish component is significant, that there's a bit of an edge. And that brings to mind, Jim, what is your menu for all this energy? And maybe I should have you introduce to our viewers about what that shirt represents, and talk to us about this club that you have joined.
Okay, the 50 States Club, my son and I learned about it in 2010 when we were at the expo for the Raleigh, North Carolina Marathon, and the dues were only $10 a year, and you had to do 10 marathons in 10 different states to be able to join. And I told my son, why would anybody want to run marathons in 50 states? Sounds pretty crazy to me. So, but
So his first reaction was that? Your son?
No, his.
Yours?
yeah.
So your son took an interest first.
Well, no, we just sort of
You were
we
both
started
observing
into
this
it, yeah,
club
yeah, yeah,
first
so-
in 2010,
Yeah.
and both of you were not too impressed with the concept, huh?
No, it didn't sound like a thing to do. It sounded a little crazy, but so later on we started doing more of them and more, and finally I saw that they might be able to do it. So so it went.
How many marathons, and we'll even take a backtrack about why running in the first place, but how many marathons had you run by the time that you'd heard about this club?
Well, I had done 14 different states. I don't remember for sure how many total, but it was something that I never really thought I'd ever do, but ended up doing it, and it grew on us the more we did, and got better all the time. So yeah, more fun. It's sort of a social club too. You meet a lot of the same people over and over again, and they all know each other, and a lot of the older folks go slow, and they talk a lot, and you learn about what's going on. So it's kind of a regular thing for them. So a lot of people do these over and over again, kind of their lifestyle.
And Nelle, you were just listening about this growing interest. Or did you have something to say about this? This is quite an investment.
No. I didn't have any say in it, but every trip or vacation that we would take, he would find a marathon, and so we would do marathons. And sometimes he did 2 or 3 in a week, and so most of those weeks would just be a marathon, go to the next place, do a marathon, and then go to another place and do another marathon. But I haven't gone with him to every one of these. If there's family or friends in those locations, I enjoy going. But if he's going to fly in one day and do a marathon and then fly out, I don't usually go on those. It's not really that much fun to stand at the finish line for 5 hours.
Quite a few hours, yeah. 5 hours. This list in the paper, I don't know what your average is, but it's probably somewhere what Nelle just said, about 5 hours.
Yeah, it's getting slow now, but yeah.
My job was usually to get there by the finish line so I could take a picture of him coming across the finish line.
Well, of course. Boy, that's great.
I think she enjoyed going, if it's a nice trip, kind of a vacation, like going somewhere we hadn't been before. So that was a good reason. So
he'd say,
yeah.
well, I want to do another marathon in the middle of winter, so I'd say, how about Hawaii?
And with that, we'll take a break, and we'll, yes, that's a good suggestion. We'll be right back with Nelle and Jim Cornelison, and we're going to be talking further about what it takes for a couple to live 50 years together with all the diversity we've already heard about. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Valley Viewpoint. We're talking to Nelle and Jim Cornelison about marathons. We're talking about marriage. They're celebrating their 50th year this year. And we're just wanting to talk to you about maybe let's touch base on your careers for a while. Talk to us about your career, and as well you, Jim.
Well, I graduated from University of Idaho with a degree in home economics, and we were in the process of having our family at that point. I had Julie during spring break and then graduated in May. And so my first career was mostly staying at home with our 2 children, Julie and Brent. But when we moved to Walla Walla, I started teaching part-time in the technology building, teaching ceramics, and then some of the crafts, silkscreen printing and leather work, those kinds of things, and then part-time in the home economics department while there was a home economics department. And then I took a break, and I actually worked at Whitman College in the Career Center for 5 years, and then I came back to Walla Walla and spent the last of my career as the director of the Career Center here at Walla Walla University. So it's been I can't believe it's gone by so quickly, and I'm already retired, but it's been a good way to have a career, very diversified. I helped a lot of students with resumes and job interview preparation, and they were always surprised when I could ask them questions about what they were doing, because we built 3 houses, I guess, in our lifetime, and so I could ask them questions about when they said they'd worked as carpenters or part-time careers and fishermen, and just pretty much I was a jack of all trades, so it was good.
And the article says you're still doing some mentoring of the freshmen
I am,
on the
yes.
campus.
I'm a mentor. I have 6 students that I mentor this year. Yep.
Oh, wonderful.
It's very fun to get to know them and cook soup for them on Fridays and bake bread. And
So
just
you
get to know
walk with them and they're nurturing their career in college.
Right. That's what we are. They're cheerleaders, I guess is what you can call us.
And Jim, what did you find as a good fit for you to support your interests?
Well, I graduated from Walla Walla College with a business major, and I probably took kind of an unusual turn. I was a auto parts manager for several years, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't think, what's this end up as, do I ever retire from it, and so over the years I ended up working for the state of Washington, and last several years I worked at Department of Social and Health Services, and so I retired from the state of Washington, and it was a good run. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I like that phrase, a good run. And it provided at least the means for you to continue running. And Nelle, if you were going to summarize, how do you cook? What is the menu for a marathon runner? Has that taken a few turns over the years of what does Jim find out from his buddies that run? and how does that fit with your kitchen, and how does that work in your family?
Well, he mostly cooks his own stuff.
So
he's very precise on what he eats and when he eats, and
you would have to be, wouldn't you?
Yes, yeah. So that's something I learned a long time ago, is to not control the kitchen. He knows what he wants. He has a specific menu for breakfast, and then he has to have a certain number of hours between eating, and so he could probably fill you in better on that. I usually cook the weekend meals, Sabbath, and then we eat leftovers a lot from that. So that's probably the last 10 years. When we had kids at home and they
Those
were going
variables.
to school, it was much different. 3 meals a day, cooking, and that sort of thing. But marathon eating is a whole different thing.
And this is where I'm going to put the spotlight on you now. Okay. Open up your secrets, or how does it work? Obviously, the disciplines are extreme, I would think, in your body energy.
Well, as a kid, I was raised on meat. We had meat and everything, but early on that kind of turned me off, because I didn't like the chickens, they're getting butchered and picking the feathers out, so the last thing I quit eating was hamburgers, and finally by the time I was 30 or so, I was a complete vegetarian. And
now that, obviously, from what we just heard you say, that there was an early stirring about the chickens. Why do they have to die for me to eat them? And then that was the first stirrings, did I hear?
Yeah.
And then that developed to where you were 30, and then the hamburgers went out. Did the sports interest take off about that time, or before, or how did that work?
Well, the sports were still a little later. I was late 30s before I started running, but I always was pretty healthful. I did a lot of hiking and things like that, a lot of outdoor activities. backpacking and so forth. So yeah, always tried to be active, but once I started running, it got a little more serious about the diet and so forth. So yeah, but yeah, I don't eat anything specific, special, you know, but a lot of vegetables, fruit, and my morning breakfast routine is normally oatmeal and maybe some granola and mixed fruit and yogurt and toast and peanut butter and applesauce. That's pretty stable for me. I don't get away from that very much.
So what I'm hearing you say is a breakfast that I would love to have too. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's my biggest meal, you know.
And do you have 2 meals a day, generally speaking?
Well, it's usually like 2.5, or you know, depends on how late I eat, because since I'm retired, I have more time to exercise in the morning before breakfast, so I can eat more. So, you know, run to eat or whatever. So.
And it doesn't look like it stays on Jim at all with the output that he has, and that's where I became aware of you. When the weather was so bad that you were at the gym and you were complaining about the lack of fresh air. And then also the paper mentioned that you have a buddy with you. Well, let's make sure you have a running buddy with you, I hear.
Yeah, we're on our second standard poodle, and she misses that morning exercise, walk or run. So yeah, when she gets a little agitated after a couple days of not doing her thing, so yeah, you got to keep her happy. But she doesn't appreciate the snow and ice a whole lot. I'm looking in to get her some boots. I think she needs something on her paws because she builds up with ice balls. So yeah, you have to keep cleaning those out, and that stops her in her tracks. So.
Hadn't thought about the dog's disability in the snow.
Yeah.
And so you do your best to run in situations where you wouldn't think it would be agreeable, Nellie. Am I right?
That's true.
I tell her, you know, when you fish, you go to all kinds of weather. So
That's
you
true,
know,
but
why not?
we're not slipping around on the ice. I walk 3 miles every morning, pretty much, at least during the week, but not on the ice and snow. So it's a good excuse for me not to have to get out there and walk, but he still goes. But he should tell you his schedule for the day.
Please.
Yes.
I'd love to hear that.
What time do you get up?
I usually get up I wake up about 4:30 in the morning, and I'll do a lot of stretching for 20 minutes or so and some routine exercises, and then get on the recumbent bike and go on there for a while, and then when I get done with that, I maybe do some pull-ups and so forth, and then get ready to go out and face the run or the walk in the morning with the dog. So sometimes you have to put on a lot of gear to do that. and
so
it goes from there.
You're armored for the winter.
Right, yeah.
Whatever
put on
it
the
takes.
whole armor, yeah. Just like running a marathon, you got to put the armor on.
So run that breakfast again. Oatmeal. You like oatmeal. Over time, that has proved to be a good experience for you.
Yeah, oatmeal, and I usually have some homemade granola. She makes great granola. And,
homemade, good.
And maybe some protein powder and soy milk.
There's a favorite protein powder that you found that just...
Yeah, there's some I buy at Costco that's pretty good. Yeah. It's it's good. And then when I get done with that, I usually 2 or 3 kinds of mixed berries, some bananas, and some yogurt. And then I love peanut butter toast with applesauce. And then I'm warming up the applesauce. So yeah, it's great.
And cinnamon on top.
Cinnamon on top. Yeah.
Well, I would enjoy that too. It sounds like a breakfast for champions, and you certainly are, Jim. This is an incredible privilege for me to interview this amazing success. And it sounds like you did this on the eve of your 50th wedding anniversary. The UB on the panorama section, that's dated December 30. It came out after your official celebration.
Right.
This paper came out 5 days after you celebrated your 50th in Hawaii. Why?
That's true.
So, in just the last 30 seconds or so, again, how would you, I sensed freedom. You've allowed each other to take wings, plenty of spaces, but you know when you need to be together to bond as well. And any other final words?
It's always good to have her at the finish line, pick up the pieces.
I would think you have seen your husband in great amount of exhaustion in many times.
It's true.
Yeah.
76 marathons in 50 different states. So.
Oh my. Well, thank you so much for being our guests, our special guests today on Valley Viewpoint. Nelle and Jim, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us on Valley Viewpoint. I'm Roger Johnson.